on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Whoa, already with the technical stuff. Already. All right, let's go across. Let's go across and see. All right. All right. Twitter looks good. IG, all right. IG's looking good. We're going to give Facebook a go. We're going to try on Facebook. Facebook has Facebook's been a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try. All right, and the IG, excuse me, the YouTube looks good. It's got to be set up. Let's get the YouTube in order. No. Heck is going on? All right. Some progress on, we're seeing progress on YouTube. Progress over to perfection. That's what I like to see. We got to get the stream. The screen. Let's get that information. No, boop, boop. We got to change that. Add that. Save it. All right. Should be good. Last but not least, we got to get Twitch going on. Make sure Twitch is good. Yes, sir. Folks, SandCity, we good. We ready to rock and roll. I appreciate. All right. Had to go over the different items. Make sure the platforms are good. I'm hoping that you guys out there in television land are very good. And we're going to get rocking and rolling without further ado, because we hit the Twitter, we hit the IG, the YouTube, right? We doing SandCity stand up, right? That's SandCity stand up. Shout out to the flag man. Shout out to my man Plenty Sneaks, a local collaboration. You know what I mean? It helped me. I got a little bit of gear. Okay. The flag man with the extra, you know what I mean? Extra comfortable. And then Plenty Sneaks. Shout out to Plenty Sneaks, SandCity Sports. And actually, we you know what I mean, little improvements we trying to make. We got SandCity right in the screen. We trying to make these improvements day by day and week by week. And so, wonderful. Thank you. We're here. Mi casa, su casa. And let's get it rocking and rolling. Let's get it rocking and rolling. Yes, indeed. To the business. know what I mean? And you know how we do on the intro. Hey, we not done yet. What's going on in the NBA? Salary cap, drama. Your man Steve Ballmer, Daddy War Bus. Is he above the NBA's regulation bylaws? Okay, Adam Silver. I said, I slipped there, Freudian slip. I said Adam Sandler. I mean Adam Silver. Adam Silver. Okay, what's going on in the NBA? Is Steve Ballmer just another owner? Okay, or is he out there like Bumpy Johnson? Is Steve Ballmer out there like Bumpy Johnson, carrying some power? That's where we're gonna begin. Appreciate everybody. We going around the world here. Okay, we good here. All right. The YouTube is, excuse me. The Twitter is good. Twitter is good. I see. Okay, we all right on the Twitter. What's going on? IG is good. My YouTubians, as they say, you know what I mean. I don't want to. All right. You know what I mean. It is what it is. It is what it is. One is good. You know, you can't have it all. My chat is all. We got a couple people. YouTube, I appreciate you. I got to get my chat worked out. Got to get the chat worked out. So I can see it on the one platform. The other platform, what's going on? You heard me? I see Chris in the building. Salute. One coast to the next. You know how we have to do. Okay. I gotta take the information. Guys, you know what this is. Mi casa, su casa. So I take the information from one chat to the next. Go ahead, jump in. What's going on, Chris? It says me, but this is Chris in the chat. Salute to you as well. SandCity, 10 toes down. We're in the building. We got a lot to get to this episode, but we're gonna start. We're gonna start with Daddy Warbucks, and then we're just gonna take the conversation. We're gonna take the conversation from there. I hope you guys are doing all right out there in television land. I hope you had a good start to your week. I'm doing all right myself. I can't say it's been all sunshine and rainbows, but I do know that I'm blessed and highly favored. I do know that in terms of the great things that I've been fortunate to have in my life. Had a great weekend. Got a chance to help out at a buddy's restaurant, and then had a chance to referee. Yesterday was the last day of summer league, which has been wonderful. So we had the summer league playoffs and championship all the day long. The weather held out. You know, community, the Utes, the young Lions, full of spit and vinegar in their hoop dreams mode. We're out there hustling and bustling. So that was awesome yesterday to have that opportunity. So had a good weekend. The summer's winding down. The educator in me, the educators out there, we can feel it already. You just look up, it's August 17th. And so we're getting ready for another journey. It's going to be a wonderful journey, right? Where did the time go? Had a glorious July, got into August. Next thing you know, you look up and we are more than a fortnight into August. But it is what it is. As I said, very fortunate in so many different ways. And so I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to lean into my good fortune, my gratitude, and allow that to help me to navigate some of the challenges, right, that I and everybody else out there that we have to go through, right? That's how we're going to do it. All right, so I see Chris in the chat. Bring the noise, bring the energy. We're starting with Daddy Warbucks, and we're going from there. We talk about the Hall of Fame in terms of basketball and our thoughts on that. We'll discuss football here in the Commonwealth. Are the Patriots the favorites in football amongst? And there was one. Let me see. I know we're definitely going to hit one topic. Oh, the Lakers. We're going to stay out in the city of Angels with the Lakers sale and how that is breaking down. So let me just double check, triple check, quadruple check. I don't want to miss anybody, right? That might be in the chat. Okay, I see we got people on Facebook. Appreciate you on Facebook. Jump in the comments, jump in the conversation. Okay, but we starting off with Daddy Warbucks, with Mr. Steve Ballmer, who the NBA said was in the clear, free and clear of any wrongdoing in the Kawhi Leonard salary cap scandal. I think we can call it a scandal. NBA said Steve himself, we find no wrongdoing. We find no fault. We find no issue. There is no suspicion. No smoke, no fire, no nothing. Get off this man's back. He has been vindicated to this point by the NBA. How do you feel about that? All of the intrepid reporting of a one Mr. Pablo Torre. Shout out to Pablo Torre, finds out. All right. Steve Ballmer is no slouch. We know where Steve Ballmer went to school. By the way, folks, we are getting ready to go back to school. Anybody know why you have to be careful how you treat nerds? Them quiet ones? Okay. Anybody have to? I see your question, Chris. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that. Include this in the LA conversation. We're gonna include that. Hold on. Let me. I see the question, Chris. Of course, per usual. We got more LA nuance that we're adding to the mix. I already had the chat up. Right. So we in LA. Have not been on since Westbrook announced his retirement. Great question. LA question. What is his place in NBA history? Let me begin by saying I do feel Russell Westbrook is a Hall of Famer. I had to think about it. But he is in no way, shape, or form a first ballot Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned. No. No, really good question about Westbrook. Not a first ballot Hall of Famer, not even close. But I can see him getting into the Hall of Fame based on, yes, the triple-double. Doesn't matter, okay, how we slice that. How's everybody out there doing? Y'all is good? We talking Daddy Warbucks, Steve Ballmer, but per usual, folks, okay? Right? I butchered that in terms of you know the suit that did me casa su casa. Come through, my people, come through. All right. I just got that good Chipotle. I don't know how you say. I say Chipotle. The students correct me. It's Chipotle. I don't know what it is. It's delicious. And by the way, that's leftovers that I'm heating up for tonight. I'm getting all up in that. I got my Great House. Shout out to Great House. My Asian cuisine. I got some leftovers from last night. And your boy getting all up in that Chipotle. Chipotle, whatever it is. Okay? Because I got a plate. It's not a full because the Chipotle, you know your boy went to Chipotle. I got my 2 burrito bowls under $25. I love that Chipotle with 2 burrito bowls stacked up. They be stacking your bowl. Come on now. I know the Ben Malice show. They got something. I mean, because y'all out there, Chris, y'all out there on the left coast, y'all got that authentic. Y'all got that authentic Mexican cuisine. We got some, but it's not. We don't have the level that you have on the West Coast and in the Southwest. We don't have the same level. But Chipotle, you better put some respect on their name. You better put some respect on Chipotle name. Add to that, folks. We need respect for them folks that work at Chipotle. Also, Dunkin' Donuts. This has been on my mind. We're talking about Steve Ballmer. Chris, per usual, he come through. He bringing the, you know what I mean? So we're gonna pivot. We're gonna pivot and discuss Westbrook for a minute, and then we're gonna pivot back, right? Y'all hoopers out there, y'all got a strong pivot foot? You better. The Utes out there, you gotta have a strong pivot foot. Don't give up your pivot foot. You don't just start dribbling the ball at no. Hold that pivot foot. Okay, use your fundamentals and get that defender up off of you. Get that defender up off you. Okay, 9-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, All-Star. Hey, no. Heck no. He ain't no first ballot Hall of Famer. We shifting gears, folks. Okay, we coming back to Daddy Warbucks. We're gonna shift gears and slide over. Heck no, he ain't no first ballot Hall of Famer. What are you talking about? I respect what you're saying, Chris, and those that might be. Heck no! Gonna come up in here and talk about Russell. Why can't I know? I see what you're saying. All due respect. We're gonna get him up on the screen in a second. What did this man do in June? What did this man do in April and June? Oh, excuse me. Let's get my calendar straight. What did Russell Westbrook do in May and June for me to put first ballot credentials on his name? We're getting him on. Heck no, ain't no first ballot Hall of Famer. And that is principally my point in terms of why we need to have this discussion. Because the NBA has what I like to call a Hall of Friends. I said what I said. The NBA has a Hall of Good. We don't have a Hall of Fame. No, we do not. Let's get into this. And I love the energy that's being brought. And I like the idea that people are saying Russell Westbrook is a first ballot Hall of Famer. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely, positively, definitively, not. I already said absolutely. Russell Westbrook ain't no first ballot Hall of Famer. Russell Westbrook, who was a part of the All-75 team, he eventually can get into the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned. But pump the brakes on the first ballot. Okay? Full stop. 9-time All-Star. Okay. I see your 2 NBA MVPs. What did this man do in May and June? Beyond the NBA Finals that he and the Oklahoma City Thunder broke through to get to in 2012, losing to the eventual champion Miami Heat. Did he ever get back? Or are we looking at a Dan Marino situation? Tell me how you feel, folks. Did Russell Westbrook get back? As we check the socials, how's everybody doing? I see we got a couple people. I see, okay. Jump into the chat. I see the people on YouTube. We in the building right now. We here. Come through. Facebook, I'm still good on Facebook. They ain't hit me with a shadow ban. That's wonderful. Absolutely not a first ballot Hall of Famer, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. You're speaking my language right now. You're speaking my language right now. Continue. We got to get Chris on the screen. Again, I'm working in it with the chat situation, but I see it. We're going to take it from the chat because Chris just made my point. He made my point 1,000%. Thank you. If Amari Stoudemire a first ballot, Westbrook definitely first ballot. You can see I'm just getting through right now. Last Monday, your boy was woo. Had me a little flu bug, folks. Little, I don't know, and it came through last Friday. I started to feel it. Friday, we got a SandCity episode. We had a marathon episode that was tremendous. I started to feel it on Friday. Saturday, it started to come at me. Right, this little issue, which is unusual. We are talking Westbrook, all right. And Chris just came through. We're gonna put that back up on the screen. Saturday, it started to get to me, so I had to go because again, I don't usually get the congestion and whatnot. I get it during the Indian summer. Transition from summer to fall is when I get it, and then I usually get it from the transition from winter to spring. I get the congestion, upper respiratory, whatnot. And so, of course, what I had to do, right? I had to, yeah, you know what this is, bro. I had to deploy this tussin on it. You understand? I had to put some tussin on it. When I had my issue last Friday, and I had to put some tussin on it to get the situation worked out. And the tussin was going to work, and it did begin to provide the remedy that I needed. Tussin came through for me. Shout out to Chris Rock. Had to put that tussin on it. Nonetheless, this was more than just congestion. Your boy. I'm not. You know what I mean. I was having flu-like symptoms. I was having, my body was, and some of the body aches just because I'm not as young as I used to be. I had the referee, so I was out moving around. But I was feeling achy breaky. I was feeling some Garth Brooks. Don't break my heart, my achy breaky heart. My just can't understand. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying? That used to go hard. Don't break my heart, my achy breaky heart. Don't break nobody. You know what I'm saying? Don't break no hearts now. But I was achy breaky. It really hit me on Sunday into Monday. Like I just had to get my rest, get my fluids and my rest. Monday was a tough day, just sweating it out. I was able to get back on my feet. I deployed some more tussin on Monday, but then I was still having the upper respiratory issues. After Saturday, Sunday, and I had 3 bouts of the tussin and was still having the issues. I said, no, I gotta go. I gotta get this checked out. Because something ain't right here. I'm not seeing the progress that the tussin usually delivers for me. I need something. You know what I mean? Tussin was doing the work. Tussin was in there. You know what I mean? Battling for me, slipping, moving. Right? Tussin was doing what it does. But I was still having upper respiratory. I couldn't sleep right. I had to sleep with my back straight like this. Couldn't sleep, you know what I mean? Because I want to be laid out. I'm laid out, you know what I mean? I couldn't do my normal, rest and rejuvenation. I had to sleep back straight up, you know what I mean? So we didn't have any issue. Tuesday, I said enough's enough. I gotta go. I gotta go get checked out. Shout out to my local medical staff, my general practitioner. They got me right in there that day. Came through, paperwork, boop boop boop. The nurse, very very helpful. Good. I mean, I wasn't in bed, but they had that bedside manner. Just they just their professionalism and their courtesy and their interest. That really just lifted my spirits as well in terms of how they conducted themselves. Doctor came through. But you know what I mean? Did the, okay, say, hey, you need to be on that Z-Pack. You need, I don't even know what a Z-Pack is. He said, you need a Z-Pack, upper respiratory. Here's the script. Go get it at the CVS. Same day, I went over. Again, I usually don't have to get prescribed because usually the Tussin knocks it out, but the Tussin wasn't doing it this time. He said, get a Z-Pack, take 2 one day, one, you know what I mean? I said, okay. CVS, they had me, boop, boop, boop. I immediately took them first 2, and I started to feel better. This is on Tuesday. I started to feel better. But the doctor said to me, stay on the Tussin. Stay on it. Don't go away from the Tussin just because you got the Z-Pack. Stay. So I took the Z-Pack and I stayed on my Tussin. And it's been a slow. I've been slowly getting better. So but I still have a cough that you will note. The cough is still there. It's been following me, but I am night and day better than I was last weekend going into last week, where your boy was full out. I was under the weather. I was full out under the weather last week. And so fortunately, in terms of my gifts and, my blessings, I'm back. I'm back on my feet. I'm back in the game. I'm back in the mix. Okay, Westbrook was playing against a juggernaut named Golden State. I point taken. I got you. But he didn't get back. And the summary point was made. The summary point was made in the previous comment. We'll get that back on the screen for you. This is why Russell Westbrook is absolutely not a first ballot Hall of Famer as far as I'm concerned. Okay? Because there's no standard. Amari Stoudemire is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm going to take it a step further. The NBA, right? And let's be clear on this, that it's the Basketball Hall of Fame rather than the NBA Hall of Fame. Okay, point taken. But the NBA is not doing its part. There is no universe in which Vlade Divac is a Hall of Famer. There's no universe. I don't care how that cookie crumbles. Vlade Divac is not a Hall of Famer, and that is one of the more egregious examples of the NBA using the Hall of Fame as a platform to push narratives, storylines, grow the game. The Hall of Fame is a marketing tool of the NBA. I said what I said. It's a marketing tool. Now, okay? Let's stay on this. The Baseball Hall of Fame is the gold standard of Hall of Fames. Gold standard. Football is next, nowhere near where baseball is. Baseball tells people no. Period. End of story. The Hall of Fame is not a lifetime achievement award. Want to talk about first ballot? Third time, Chris's important comment go on the screen. Amari Stoudemire was in on the first ballot. Great. Wonderful. Okay? I was going to say Charles Barkley, but I can't go to Barkley yet. You could say, oh, well, Barkley only went to one NBA. Yeah, he did only go to one NBA Finals. And yes, I do hold that against him. So I can't use the example of Charles Barkley. One NBA Finals appearance, no victory. Again, different in terms of the championship chasing here and there. All right. But those of us know Charles Barkley had championships for him in 94 and 95. What happened to them championships? He let the Dream steal those championships. And by the time that run was over in 94, 95, by the time 96 comes around, Michael Jordan had gotten back. And so there was no more free lunches. And so he teams up with the Dream in Houston. And then you bring in Scottie Pippen, but y'all couldn't get on the same page in terms of how you wanted to play, and y'all was in your feelings, and you let that opportunity go by the wayside, even though I don't think you were challenging the three-peat Bulls anyway. But I do know that there were championships waiting for Charles Barkley, and waiting for Patrick Ewing, and waiting for Sean Kemp, and waiting for Gary Payton, excuse me. There were championships available in 94, 95 for people to get on the board, but did they do that? Or did they even make it to the finals in the first place? No. And when we're talking about Charles Barkley, he let a 2-0 lead go against the Rockets in 94, and he let a 3-1 lead go against the Rockets in 95. Not a first ballot Hall of Famer. At all. Not even close. You know who's the first ballot Hall of Famer? I just mentioned his teams. Folks, Michael Jeffrey Jordan's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know who's the first ballot Hall of Famer? Since we're talking about Mr. Russell Westbrook here, the inventor of the triple-double, one Mr. Oscar Robertson, is a first ballot Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest basketball player who has ever lived. You know who's the first ballot Hall of Famer? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is that is what it means to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We here in the Commonwealth. I borrowed this. SandCity, we don't play or hate. We congratulate around here. Let me see how folks doing. Okay, a little quiet here, but we doing good. IG is good. IG is good. All right. Couple, yep. We got people, YouTube. We in the building. We're going to talk about Daddy Warbucks. Conversation have shifted. You can shift the conversation if you want to jump in and get involved. Okay, we over here talking about Russell Westbrook. No way, shape, or form is he a first ballot Hall of Famer. All right? And the idea that this person's a first ballot, therefore that person is a first ballot, that reflects the watering down of the institution. Okay? NBA Hall of Fame hasn't been watered down. It's been flooded. Where's FEMA at? Send them to Springfield, to the Hall of Fame, so that they can do an investigation. It's been flooded. By the way, shout out to the Treme. Okay, those of you that got HBO Max, this is David Simon Gold. If you like The Wire, you need to go ahead and check out the Treme all day, every day. It is superb. You rock with The Wire, you rock with David Simon, go ahead and check out the Treme, all about New Orleans after the flood in 2005. Okay, NBA Hall of Fame flooded with mediocrity. That's what it is. You tell me Amari Stoudemire is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay? Preposterous. Okay? All these all-stars. I'll give you the all-stars. Fine. But are you going to tell me that Amari Stoudemire was a dominant player? And I know there's a distinction. Russell Westbrook's got 2 MVPs, not to be discounted, which is a whole step above all-stars. But the man did not win. He did not win. And we go back to this in terms of Sam Presti, who is top flight GM. I'll give him that. We're going to talk about folks and, there's some things here in the Commonwealth and words that have been said that are absolutely ridiculous that need to be pushed back on. And Celtics continue to dig themselves deeper and deeper. The fact he didn't win. Russell Westbrook did not win and did not play winning basketball throughout the majority of his career. You know who did play winning basketball? Manu Ginobili. You know who was willing to sacrifice? Mr. Ginobili. To get his championships. Did he average a triple-double? No, he didn't. Does he have multiple championship rings? Yes, he does. So pound for pound, if I have to think about it, yeah, it is a conversation. Do I want Westbrook and his explosive athleticism? Both of his parents, track and field stars. You can see the roots. Did Sam Presti get it right, picking him 4th? Good player at UCLA, but he not groundbreaking. Yes, he got it right. But you know where he got it all the way wrong? leaning into Westbrook instead of Harden. All the way wrong. The duo in Oklahoma City to this day could have been Harden and Durant. Or it could have been all three, since we're on the subject. The San Antonio Spurs, they haven't lost their mind. They know what the deal is. It's not De'Aaron Fox's fault the second apron was agreed to by the players. No, we're keeping this Fantastic Four together. We're not dumb. We're not dumb. Second apron, players taking money out of their own pockets. You need to get that taken care of in the next CBA. But that's not the reason that you break up championship teams. And now everybody want to get on that JB time. All right? Y'all was laughing. Y'all was clowning JB, wasn't you? I told you the Nova Vision back then. I told you La Cosa Nova was going to be 10 toes down for a championship then. Check the receipts. I told you. You're not talking about the money he left on the table, are you? You're not. You're talking about the first championship in 53 years and the richest city on the face of the earth. Maybe the richest city in human history. That man's never going to have to buy a drink ever again. And the business connections that he's going to receive based on that championship will exceed the $100 million he left on the table. But you don't want to talk about that right now, do you? But y'all felt some type of a way when he did it. Y'all felt some type of a way. Heck no, Westbrook is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He didn't win. Case in point example right there of somebody who was clowned on, who was slept on, who had the vision, who wasn't worried about my team, your team nonsense, that took a step back in service of winning. It counts, folks. It counts. And I'm glad the San Antonio Spurs, on top of bringing in Billy Donovan as a lead assistant, which is big time, are keeping their core four together to compete for championships going forward. Did the Celtics keep their core four together? No. The Celtics want to be over here throwing shade at Jaylen Brown in their feelings when they're about to get manhandled in the Eastern Conference this season. I said what I said. Jump in the chat if you, okay? No, we didn't have leadership here in Boston to deal with the attitudes and the tension that was in existence to keep this team together and to bring in a mediator who could have worked this out, i.e. Drew Holiday, who we will discuss. No, the Celtics didn't have the vision for that. And so now they're in their rebuilding phase, as far as I'm concerned. And you want to talk this nonsense about, well, you know, it's more important to have a strong culture than to have these talented players. How'd that work out for Bill Belichick once Tom Brady left? That's what Boston Celtics are in line for. Yeah. And by the way, I was 10 toes down with Belichick in those days. How did that? Wrong. A lot of crow. Get the hot sauce. Get the honey mustard. Get the Grey Poupon. Get the blue cheese. I ate a lot of crow because I was 10 toes down on the system on Belichick once TB12 took his talents down to Tampa Bay. How's that worked out? Who was the authority in that relationship? Yeah. The talent on the court at the end of the day or on the field is what makes the difference. Okay? It's the ingredients, folks. It's that chef that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning to be to the marketplace by 4 o'clock in the morning to get those fresh, prime ingredients. That's the chef that's going to win the Beard Award. It's the ingredients that make the difference when you're talking about strength versus strength. Two top-tier chefs, 5, 10, however many. Who has the better ingredients? That's who's going to have the better dish. This lunacy in Boston now talking about, oh, well, we're going to get rid of talent for culture. We're going to see how your culture is doing in the East next. We're going to see. We're going to see. All the way back to Russell. Absolutely not. Your first ballot Hall of Famers are reserved for true, undeniable, undisputed greatness. This is where I have to borrow from Lou Maloney. Shout out to WEEI. Should have never took an OMF off the air. Ridiculous. That show was on point. Do I agree politically, culturally with everything that they said? Nope. But was that show jumping when I was getting off of my workday leaving school? Yep. Okay. Shout out to OMF. WEEI here in the Commonwealth. Okay? Chris, winning a title and winning in general. Yes, I am holding the one finals appearance against Russell Westbrook. Yes, I hold it against Charles Barkley as well, under the same rationale. Charles Barkley could have, would have, should have, whatever. If it's and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. There were finals appearances there for him in 94 and 95. No excuses. And those Houston Rockets teams, when Scottie Pippen finally got to town and they was beefing with each other, that got knocked out by the Utah Jazz team with Malone and Stockton on Stockton's three at the buzzer, that was another opportunity in Charles Barkley's twilight to get to the finals. Did he get there? No. It's against him. We're not talking about the Hall of Friends. We're not talking about buddy. We're not talking about Lifetime Achievement Awards. None of that is relevant when you're discussing the Hall of Fame. This is about greatness. Shout out to Major League Baseball. It's about greatness. And now, to reference, shout out to Lou Merlone, WEEI, what I borrowed from him. Okay? If it takes you more than 3 seconds to think about somebody's Hall of Fame candidacy, they're not a Hall of Famer. I would preface it with saying they're probably not a Hall of Famer, but the bottom line is they're not a Hall of Famer. If it takes you more than 3 seconds, I'd ask my buddies this. Is Rob Gronkowski a Hall of Fame? Yes. We'll discuss the Patriots. Is Julian Edelman a Hall of Fame? He's not a Hall of Famer. If it take you more than 3 seconds, they're not a Hall of Famer. Or they got to wait. They need to wait. And we can have that further discussion. 3rd ballot, 4th ballot, 5th ballot. Yeah. So there's 2 things that we're discussing. First of all, who's a Hall of Famer at all? And then secondly, who needs to wait a minute or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? And I love, because it means something. It means something. And players, it means something. But what it really means, the greater conversation is not about people stomping their feet, okay, and kicking up dust, right? Hall of Fame is fascinating, isn't it? Because this is when you get to see great players and professional players and accomplished players. They're in the same boat as people like me, Rudy Rudiger, that were scratching and clawing just to be on the team. I just wanted to be on the team, to contribute to the team, to have a role. Hold on here. Okay, we charged up. All right. My strength is good. My strength is good. Okay, everything is good. Had to double check that just to make sure that we was getting the full charge that we needed. I got the full charge. We good across the board on our socials. Yeah. So I love when we have these conversations and players kick up dust, and then players don't go to Canton or don't go to Springfield or don't go to Cooperstown, because I love that. Because now these professional, you're in this, you're scratching and clawing just like the rest of us to get in. And they're not used to having to be in these situations because they've always been the guy. All right. So that's fascinating. But it's not about them not having. It's fascinating because they've been, these great athletes have been normalized. And these things matter to them, and they have their cases, they have their arguments. then we can get into the whole conversation of, well, you never played the game, so you don't know, okay, which is hogwash. Because if that was the case, then every player who played the game would make a good coach or make a good general manager or make a good scout, and they don't. So it's two completely different competencies. When people want to, when athletes feel challenged and threatened, they try to big time you. Well, you didn't play in Ohio State in the big house and have a champ, like I did. Yeah, that's right. I didn't. As far as this podcast is concerned, I'm a jag. I'm just a guy out here in television land doing my passion project and loving every minute of it. Yeah. And we're talking about Russell Westbrook, 4th overall pick in the NBA draft, 9-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, multi-millionaire, highly accomplished, right? He's in LA, you know what I mean, with the right? He's a somebody. And I'm not. So yeah, that's established. But in terms of an analysis of what constitutes greatness in the game of basketball, one Mr. Russell Westbrook better buckle up. Because he's talking to an individual that still to this day has the NBA official register from 1994. You heard me? I referenced it, so now the people need to see it. I referenced it, so now the people need to see it. You're talking to an individual, and they're a little dusty, so that still has the NBA official register from 1994 amidst my collection. Got the college books, got this, got that, got the third. Still got this joint. And you want to talk to me about who has an opinion in terms of what represents NBA greatness. You better pump the brakes. Got to dust a couple of my old books off. But let's get it back on the screen. Yeah. Okay? When the young O'Neal was in the mix. Used to pour over this like there was no tomorrow. Interestingly enough, I now, talk sports. All right? So when athletes try to big time folks talking about, you never played the game and you don't have an opinion and you can't participate in this conversation. Try to get this back now. You can't have an opinion on this because I'm, such and such. Real quick, folks, I just got a real quick in the production side here after we brought out the official register from 1994. Apologize. A little bit dusty. I mean, we're a little bit dusty. Your boy's back. Right? But proud to get that on the screen. Has Russell Westbrook spent untold hours reading the NBA register from 1993, 1994, which has all the all-time stats, like your boy? I doubt it. He's busy out there making those millions and competing for championships. So I doubt he's read it. But that's the information, the foundation when we talk about NBA greatness. And not his NBA Finals appearance in 2012 or his 2 MVPs or his 9 All-Star games or the myriad of huge games that he's played in over the course of the career. It's how does that stack up pound for pound against the workings of a one Mr. Oscar Robertson, who did create the phrase triple-double, excuse me, who did signify the phrase triple double and win a gold medal in the 1960 Olympic Games, and arguably the greatest basketball team of all time, with Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Bill Russell, and others. But along with all of that, what Mr. Oscar Robertson also did during the Celtics' dominance in the 60s and 70s is win himself an NBA championship with a thorough all-time great in his formative years, then known as Lou Alcindor. There's a difference. Okay, Russell Westbrook had the numbers. He did not have the commitment to win. Check that. The winning. I'm not going to intimate what his commitment was or was not. But I do know that one Mr. Oscar Robertson, who has a claim and a case to be in the greatest of all time conversation. Oscar Robertson against similarly stacked odds, if you want to talk about the Golden State Warriors dynasty, broke through and won himself an NBA championship. Okay, which would have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 had he not played for the Cincinnati Royals during the Bill Russell era of dominance. So, yeah, well, you never played the game. So, no. You never read the 1993-1994 NBA register. So pump the brakes. All you athletes out there. I'm 10 toes down on this. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Because he's not Oscar Robertson. And he's not Jerry West. And he's not Wilt Chamberlain. Or Magic Johnson. Or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Or Larry Bird. Or Isaiah Thomas. He's not. Those are the individual for whom the first ballot is reserved. Not the doggone Amari Stoudemire's of the world. If we're having a serious conversation rather than an AAU conversation. Are you kidding me? And all the people in the basketball community, line up. I'm ready to have this conversation. I've been ready to have this conversation. Talk to me about the Russell Westbrooks of the world. Now, he's on a different level. He's on a different level than Amari Stoudemire. And that right there proves the dilution of the institution itself. Let's see how we're doing in the chat. Is James Harden a first ballot Hall of Famer? Heck no. For the same reason. Absolutely not. Let me scroll down in the chat. Absolutely not. Is James Harden a first ballot Hall of Famer? In no uncertain terms. And then let me ping pong or pickleball the thing. Is James Harden in the same breath as Larry Bird? Is he in the same breath as Magic Johnson? Is he in the same breath as Isaiah Thomas? Is he in the same breath as Karl Malone? Is he in the same breath, yes, as John Stockton? I put John Stockton in this category. Well, what? What do you have to say about a man who missed 26 games total throughout the course of his 19-year NBA career and still holds the all-time assists and steals record, neither of which are going to be approached, it appears, in the near future if LeBron James can't get anywhere near close, and it doesn't seem like he's going to. First ballot Hall of Famer, John Stockton. He has 2 all-time records. It's been almost 30 years since he left the game. Neither one of them is in doubt. And he went to 2 NBA Finals, where he lost to who? Michael Jeffrey Jordan. So the statistical categories are there. The winning is there. With John Stockton, okay, he didn't get a championship. He did not win a championship, but he went to multiple championship. You know who also only didn't win, right? Karl Malone didn't win, went to multiple championships. Karl with 3 because of the 04 Lakers, which were a train wreck, but it wasn't to be. I have John Stockton as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I do not have Russell Westbrook as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now you're going to want to say, well, he's got 2 MVPs and John Stockton doesn't have any MVPs. But John Stockton has 2 all-time records that are nowhere near being broken. And he's got 2 finals appearances. So for Russell Westbrook's MVPs, by the way, which neither one of them took place in a season where the Oklahoma City was any good. He didn't win the MVP as the leader of a championship team. He won the MVP in this pace and space, run around, shoot a bunch of threes, long rebounds, more possessions, and being a grinder. Those are his MVPs. Not leading a championship level team, as in, i.e. Charles Barkley, 1993. Okay? It was David Robinson, 1994, until he came up against the Dream, and that was that. 95, who was the MVP? It might have been Dream. Might have been the Dream in 95, even though the Rockets were a little bit down. And then 96, Mr. Jordan had returned. And frankly, in 97 and 98, there was a little bit of Jordan fatigue, giving those MVPs to Karl Malone. I don't know if Malone deserved back-to-back rather than Michael getting another one. Just like I don't know if Marc Gasol deserved Defensive Player of the Year over LeBron James. Don't like that. Don't like that voter fatigue. And a couple MVPs, we could have went to Jokic, but we say we're going to give this other guy a chance. The other guy that they gave a chance for the MVP, has he done anything relative to winning since getting the MVP? The answer is no. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. An individual that's in the city of brotherly love, that's got big-time expectations on him this year, that needs to have his championship there this year if he's ever going to have a championship year, that needs to navigate. I'm talking about one Mr. Joel Embiid in case, right? So there's no dispersions on this conversation. And one Mr. Joel Embiid who must be healthy. No 2 ways about it for the playoffs. If that means him only playing 30 games, if that means him only playing 40 games, then so be it. He's got 28 games in April, May, and June to win. Okay, or his legacy. People want to talk to me about, well, Joel Embiid. Absolutely not. If you don't get this champion, he's not in the Hall of Fame at all. Okay? Why does somebody deserve? And this is again. You know what I mean? Because this is the real. It does hurt. When we go through in life, think about this, right? We want whatever it is. The beautiful spouse, the big home, the marquee job. We want what we want. And with the proliferation of wealth following the Second World War, the rise of the middle class, there was no middle class. We ain't have no middle class in the 19th century. That's the 1800s. Ain't no middle class. What are we talking about? First of all, because this country had to establish what the true meaning of freedom was. We had a cataclysmic conflict in these United States during the 19th century for a new birth of freedom. But beyond that, after the Civil War and going into the Reconstruction era, which also coincided with the Industrial Revolution, right? The battle for workers' rights. Your boy right now is on what they call vacation. That's where your boy is. I'm an educator, so this is that light, that fruit, that good fruit You get your summers off to rest and rejuvenate before you go back to another glorious school year. It's a beautiful thing. 5 days a week, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours to get it done. Yeah, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. And I'm blessed and highly favored to be in the occupation, just like the other working class heroes that are in police, fire, medical, construction, however else you're contributing to society. It's supposed to be hard. But those rewards, right? Move up the ladder, build up your pension, make some investments, start a family. Those are the rewards of the hard work. It's supposed to be hard. But again, folks, this idea of the masses benefiting and enjoying some of these fruits, like the weekend, like vacation, like a pension. These are all 20th century inventions. And so what does this have to do with Russell Westbrook, folks? What it has to do is greatness ain't for everybody. It's not. Everybody is not historically, distinctively unique. Okay? Majority of folks, myself included, are in that middle ground. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean you can't have a highly impactful life. But we're talking about greatness is the conversation. And right? As people have gotten more, people expect more. And the NBA is not outside of that conversation. Talking about a league that was tape delay when Magic Johnson came into the league. Talking about a league where you got 7-footers riding in the middle, riding in that middle seat. 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". No, you in the middle. I'm on the me. 5'10" with Tim's on. I got that aisle seat. You NBA player, scrunch on in. And you better be happy to be on a plane and not on a bus. Talking about here. Average salaries, you know what I mean? Couple $1 million here, couple $1 million there. We ain't talking about 10, 20, 30, 40. We ain't talking about that type of money in the 80s, never mind the 70s. Some of these professional athletes had to get jobs in the off season and did that willingly and happily for the privilege to play professional sports. What are we talking about here? And then over time, with strong leadership, David Stern most certainly in the NBA. I'm thinking of Paul Tagliabue prior to Bud Selig in MLB. Okay, these leagues continue to grow. That growth was experienced and the players benefited from their labor power. And you saw the steady increase in salaries, opportunities, right? And the place of professional athletes within the celebrity pyramid, within the world of entertainment and influence. Athletes steadily got more and more and more and more, which is great, which is deserved. And now that's being felt, and the youth are benefiting from it, which is great. Okay, you're just talking about a percentage of what the overall institution generates. So people furious about a college quarterback making $7 million a year don't quibble about a university that makes hundreds of millions of dollars. TV contracts, ticketing, memorabilia. We focus on the kid that makes $7 million and not the board of directors and the president and whoever else is making hundreds of millions. Because of the power of sports. What does this have to do with Russell Westbrook and the Hall of Fame? What it has to do with, simply because more and more people are benefiting from the prosperity in sports, does not now mean that mediocre or good is the equivalent of great. No. There's a difference between good and great. One time, one person says, if everybody's great, then nobody's great. The Ivy Leagues are tackling this conversation in terms of grade inflation. Professors at Ivy Leagues are saying more and more students are this many students really the cream of the crop? Or is this grade inflation where we're charging you so much money, by the way, to go here that you're essentially paying for good grades? No. That's right. Harden, N-O. No. And we can have this, we're going to have this conversation. We're talking about Westbrook. No. And you know something? The reason why I'm 10 toes down on Harden not being a Hall of Famer, it goes back to BK. Okay, it goes back to BK. Really, for me, that's the straw that broke the. Absolutely not for James Harden. No way, shape, form. Come at me. Say what you have to say. Let's go ahead. We're gonna look at the numbers. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why James Harden is not a Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer for me. Okay, there's no two ways about it. Harden, no. I'm interested in people who think he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, what your rationale is. And I have my rationale for why it's an absolute no. Okay, we're making some. Okay, folks. So Westbrook, he gets in. Absolutely not on the first ballot. No. Okay. Now I got to see second ballot. That's a good question. Like, who is a second ballot Hall of Famer? It's a good question. So let's dive into that. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no scenario where I'm letting Russell Westbrook or James Harden in on the first ballot. And that's an open question. Y'all can jump in. Y'all can let me know what y'all feel on that. Okay, but it's not even beginning. I'm not even considering. I won't even mention James Harden and Russell Westbrook when it comes to being on. I won't even mention them because I told you who's on my first ballot. Okay, what? Bill Russell? What? Wilt Chamberlain? Hold on. No. We're not putting Harden and Westbrook in those conversations. Can't do that. I'm losing sleep at night, and I already have to deal with the upper respiratory. I'm already losing sleep as it is with this upper respiratory, and you're gonna have me lose more sleep? What? So we know that this is Irvin. This is the Magic Man right here. Okay. What is this man's nickname? Y'all know who that is, right? He was the best player on that team where that freshman. He was the best player on that team where that freshman from Winston-Salem hit that big shot. Yeah. But he was the best player on that team. What they call him? With the strong beard game. That's Big Game James right there. That's Big Game James right there. 3 championships. Finals MVPs in those championships. And had we been in a different place in our culture and society after Magic Johnson contracted the HIV virus, there would have been more championship appearances because where did the Lakers land themselves in 1991? Over and against the Portland Trailblazers, who had represented the Western Conference in 1990, but who came back in 1991 and put those Trailblazers in their place after losing in the 1989 NBA Finals. Who was right back in the finals? None other than the Los Angeles Lakers, folks. Magic Johnson had more finals appearances and more championship competition in him had we been in a different place in our culture, recognizing he can be HIV positive and play professional sports with no issue whatsoever. We should have had Magic until 95 at least. 92, 93, 90. He had 4 good years in him minimum to be out there competing and extending the legacy of a one Mr. Big Game James, who comes in the league in 1983, first overall pick in 1982, after the Los Angeles Lakers win the NBA championship. Speaking of the rich getting richer. Big Game James would have been right there. So there's no 2 ways about it. Magic Johnson's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is Big Game James worthy of first ballot Hall of Famer? Now, again, did he have the same career of Magic Johnson? No, he didn't. And I've established how I feel about the first ballot. First ballot Hall of Famer means Mount Olympus. It doesn't mean we need people to put into this organization for storylines that are beneficial. I love the fact that Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett buried the hatchet. And we're all at Doc's induction, and we could look at the happier times of what took place almost 2 decades ago, the Celtics winning the first championship since 1986. I like all of that. Makes me feel good. But you want to tell me an individual that blew multiple 3-1 leads over the course of his career and has a 1 NBA championship 2008 to speak for is a Hall of Famer? I rock with Doc. Chicago guy, right? Good player, solid coach over the years. Am I putting Doc Riley in the same breath as I that was a Freudian, right? I got ahead of myself. Am I putting Doc Rivers in the same breath as Pat Riley? Can I talk about Doc Rivers in the same conversation as Phil Jackson, Lenny Wilkins, Greg Pop? Because, folks, we're talking about the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Friends. Now, to the folks here who want to advocate for James Harden being a first ballot Hall of Famer, okay? Folks that want to advocate for James Harden being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, James Worthy doesn't have the overall stats of a James because he's playing with Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So he's sharing. Right? You can make the same argument for Clay not having the same statistics as a Clyde Drexler or a Dame Lillard because he's sharing. He can put up those same statistics if he wants to press and force and disrupt a winning situation. He can put up those numbers, and they'll have with a lot of those guys that put up big numbers, i.e. James Harden and Russell Westbrook had. Losing. I cannot confidently say that James Worthy is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I can consider it. I didn't see enough from James in the 90s. Again, he needed Magic to be there, but that's neither here nor there. I needed another 3-4 more years of James leading the charge for the Lakers, and that wasn't the case. He comes in and, drafted first in 82. He had a good 10-year career, during which he won 3 championships. He won Finals NBA, Finals MVP. He had a good 10-year career. James did. But 10 is different than 15. And he never drove the bus. So, no, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. But is he a Hall of Famer? As far as I'm concerned. Big game, James, he is. He does get in. Again, not, the NBA and, my idea of what a Hall of Famer is. He gets in second, third ballot. I would lean second ballot because of the Finals MVP. But I could see James having to wait again, third ballot, because he did not drive a bus to a championship. Excuse me. You know who did drive a bus to a championship? Okay. His partner right there. Go back to 1980. You know who did drive a bus to a championship? The captain. Go back to 1971. Or 82. Or 85. Kareem and Magic drove the bus across that finish line. James never did that. He was on these buses. He was a central piece, central cog within the machinery, but he never drove the bus. Nonetheless, he goes into the Hall of Fame. Big game James. I put his 10 years above James Harden's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever the case may be. He's still putting up numbers on the strength of that man's name. Big game James. For all of the statistical prowess of James Harden, where have those major games, those high point, high assist, high player efficiency games, When have they taken place in the postseason? All right, then. Okay. So the first ballot is off the table. It's got regular season statistics. That's great. Devoid of playoff notable statistics. Devoid. So James Harden's argument is all regular season. So that we're all on the same page here. Let me check the chat and see if anybody's jumped in. Mm-hmm. All right. Put that in the chat. James Harden goes in on the second ballot or the third ballot. First ballot's out of the conversation. Third ballot is more likely for me because his case is essentially a regular season case. Now, there's been changes throughout the league, folks. The East has beefed itself up into a juggernaut, frankly. I see one weak team in the East, maybe two. Every other team in the Eastern Conference is hunting and playing for something. Right? Let's take a look. You know, the Wizards are playing for something. The Pacers, the Nets are trying to build on their momentum. The Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks are the team that I think that, you know, that I think they're just undermanned, but they're going to compete. Heat with Giannis, Charlotte under Charles Lee's leadership, Orlando with their roster, all the pieces involved. 76ers as title favorites. Hawks under Quinn Snyder. Raptors, Scotty Barnes bringing in Kawhi Leonard. Cleveland Cavaliers bringing their roster back. New York Knicks defending champions. Celtics to prove that they can win without Jaylen Brown. Detroit Pistons to see if they can repeat as number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Every team in the East has a why. There's something they're playing for, and they have folks in there that can execute their vision of improvement or contention. Every team in the East. Right? And so James Harden has not delivered to date as far as the playoffs are concerned. He went to Cleveland to win. Let's see what he can do. You know, in a situation where you leave one stack conference thinking that maybe you're going to get a respite in the East, I don't see it. Washington with their young, like the teams that have been in the basement have leveled up with their draft picks. So you're going to have to corral those young Lions. You know, those teams are not going to be easy outs. Should the Cavs beat the Wizards? Should the Cavs beat the Bulls? Yes. But if they sleep on them, those can be L's. So the Cavs have their you know, they have the talent. Obviously, no one's more talented than Philly, with LeBron James being the kingmaker. But we'll see. Can James Harden get down there into the nitty-gritty and knock a Miami Heat team with their culture and Giannis out of the playoffs? Okay, they battled the Orlando Magic, young Lions. They want, you know, Orlando Magic remind me of the Memphis Grizzlies when they had their movement with maturity. A bit more maturity, not tremendous maturity because they ran Jamal Mosley out of town. but a bit more tame version of the Memphis Grizzlies when they had Ja, Bane, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks. Pacers back. Gave up a top 5 pick for Zubac. They have expectations. The East. So back to James Harden and this idea that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer just based on one half of the season. James Harden can be a Hall of Famer based on his regular season accolades. Not to me. As I get my... Absolutely not. I'm not putting James Harden as a first ballot or a second ballot based on empty calorie regular season statistics. No. Those statistics gain credibility in the postseason. And we have yet to see Mr. Harden ball out during the second season. All right? So, negative for Mr. Harden. Okay, very good, folks. Just going around, checking my socials. Everything is good. Hope you guys out there in television land are good. Yeah, Hall of Fame. Not Hall of Friends. Not Hall of Good. Not Lifetime Achievement Award. The Hall of Fame. Okay? Reserved for true greatness. Doesn't mean you didn't have a noteworthy, impactful career if you didn't get into the Hall of Fame. But this guy here, Irvin, is generational. And everybody cannot be generational. It's not the way it works. So good stuff, folks. We're going to head back to our initial conversation with Daddy Warbucks. Might almost be time for my slide decks are becoming ginormous, which is good. We have a number of topics to get to here on SandCity Sports. Hope you guys are doing well out there in television land. I'm hanging in there. Can't complain. In many ways, right? Super duper fortunate. But I hope y'all are doing well. Also, all right, let's come back to the beginning. Good stuff relative to the Hall of Fame. All right, Daddy Warbucks. NBA says we don't know. We don't know what to tell you. We don't have anything linking him personally. We're getting ready to move on. All right, so it's been established. Steve Ballmer, richest owner in team sports, not just the NBA, in team sports. He's bright. You don't reach those rarefied levels without being very, very smart. All right, I bring that up. Steve Ballmer, for all of his capabilities, happened to be at the right place at the right time. a friend of his in college, went by the name of Bill Gates. They developed a connection. Ballmer didn't really know what he was going to do. Went to LA, was thinking about doing writing or going into an industry. Wasn't sure what he wanted to do. This is well documented. He had that friend from his college, which we'll establish in a second. Had that friend from college who saw his capability, believed in him, and said, I'd like for you to come and work with this new company that I'm starting called Microsoft. That friend, of course, none other than Mr. Bill Gates. And the rest is history. Okay. These two individuals, classmates at that school in Cambridge, with the billions upon billions upon billions of dollar endowment. It's good, that school in Cambridge called Harvard. It's funny that Steve Ballmer, who's from the Midwest, I believe he's from Michigan, talks about it and tells the story of his parents saying, we're not going to tell you what to do. Okay, Harvard's endowment, $57 billion. Parents saying, we're not going to tell you what to do, but you going out to work on this thing called computing. Again, this is like the 70s, 60s and 70s. You going out to get a job at this unknown company called Microsoft and work on this thing called computing. You can do that if you want, but our advice is to get a 9-to-5 job, something a little bit more stable, and go from there. He made his choice and never looked back. Bright guy. Folks, I established that only to include that when Mr. Pablo Torre of Pablo Torre Finds Out, who broke this story and has been driving this story for the better part of the last year, when Mr. Pablo Torre is not the richest owner in team sports or in those rarefied circles where a handful of people on the planet are. But he's also a Harvard man. Folks, who knows his business? That being journalism. All right. So we have a Steve Ballmer who's done tremendous things for the NBA, taking the Los Angeles Clippers in a completely new direction after the Donald Sterling era, which was atrocious, both on and off the court. Breath of fresh air. Huge free agent pickup in the NBA. No doubt about it. Energy, the enthusiasm. The Clippers are a first-rate organization. They are adults. They remind me of the Steelers. We're gonna run this franchise like adults. You can throw the heat in there. We're gonna have the strongest of strong cultures. I thought they were gonna knock off Denver 2 years ago when Denver broke through and beat them in 7, and then took the eventual champion Oklahoma City Thunder to 7. Thought the Clippers were going to beat them. Thought they could have went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma City. With their model, right, of just professionalism and reacclimation projects. We're going to bring in a James Harden and get the best out of James Harden. You're not going to be hearing about his after hours, off the court exploits and what he's doing in our locker room. That's not going to be the driving narrative. He's going to show up to work every single day. He's going to do the things that he specializes in to put us in a position to win. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard. Stunning to me when they went toe-to-toe with Denver in that 7-game absolute battle where Nikola Jokic played some all-time level basketball. Right? Just two good teams battling, nobody backing down. Good old school Western Conference battle royale. Right? Kawhi Leonard was healthy that entire season. First time he's been healthy throughout the entire season since the Spurs won a championship. Right? Ivica Zubac, developing him. They don't believe in tanking. They don't believe in making excuses. Once they have something that works, they double down, triple down on it. That's Ty Lue as a coach. That's Lawrence Frank in the front office, breaking up the coach and the general manager, right? Him headhunting Jerry West from the Golden State Warriors to build the team that woulda, coulda, shoulda won the championship in the bubble, which is a real championship. He's making smart moves. He's investing in the right people, garnering long-term success. Check, 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 check. Like the Clippers as an organization before this, and never mind, he's got more money than anybody else, but he is the intelligent money at the table. He's not stupid money. He's got more chips, and he knows, and he better deploys those chips than everybody else. I want Mr. Steve Ballmer. And then you add to that he was able to bring a second stadium to Los Angeles, the Intuit Dome. Remarkable achievement. Okay, and now, to use that example from Greek mythology, which I consistently reference, Sisyphus, you push that rock all the way to the top of the hill, doing all these things right. And what happens? This scandal erupts on the heels of all of these achievements. Right? So you don't like to see that. You don't like to see when people are having their moments and are achieving things that second stadium in LA, the Intuit, come on. This is decades in the making. And then the fact that the Clippers are a first-rate organization. Might not get the stars, don't need the stars. We're going to build the right way and beat teams with stars and less culture. All right, folks, so all those boxes are checked. And then we have the Experian. That's the wrong word. Let me get the wording right, folks. First of all, Experian, those are the folks that check my credit score. All right, and my fundamental argument here, the NBA, nothing to see here, no finding, that's fine. Okay? That's fine and dandy. But as much as I've said that aspiration company, as much credit as we need to give to Steve Ballmer, folks, we're back, folks. You know, when family calls, you gotta answer the call. Glad to get a good report from the family. Gotta check in. Again, the family is on the left coast, so I might, I can call when this is episode. It's still late, but it's only 8:40 there, so I can still call and check in. All right, folks, Pablo Torre is no joke in what he's doing. So, long story, not so long on this. The idea that after all this reporting and fact finding, that there's nothing to see here in terms of aspirations, dealings with Kawhi Leonard, in avoidance of the NBA salary cap, doesn't make too much sense to me. All right. The greater narrative and argument, as far as I'm concerned, is that, Steve Ballmer is who he is, with the talent and the resources to draw out any investigation. And let me clarify that point, because Steve Ballmer's got talent and he's got resources, but so does the NBA. Okay, we're talking about the billionaire class. NBA has no shortage of resources. So the conversation about the Hall of Fame comes down to standards. It's not about the individual, it's about the institution. Right? And that narrative, that thinking is the same here. It doesn't benefit the NBA to give Steve Ballmer a pass in this instance because he happens to be Steve Ballmer. Because what you simultaneously have done is give the next owner, who's not Steve Ballmer, richest owner in team sports, or on the cutting edge of innovation in your league, you've established a precedent that we look the other way for one of our premier owners. But now we're going to turn around and drop the hammer on an owner who does not have that same cachet. So there is no center there that we are moving from. We're essentially going to pick and choose. We're going to pick and choose when it comes to the fundamental aspects of the NBA, which is competitive integrity, competitive balance. This whole salary cap is to bolster competitive balance. And we have an owner, Harvard man, who has been found by another Harvard man to at least circumvented the salary cap, worked around it, or attempted to work around it. Not going to, right? We're talking about the intent here. Well, I didn't necessarily, and we don't know, what the NBA is saying is that Steve Ballmer himself is not a part of these deals, not that these deals didn't actually take place. It's not the individual, it's about the institution. So you want to give Steve Ballmer a pass because he's Steve Ballmer, right? Never mind. You didn't give Donald Sterling a pass because he was Donald Sterling. And I am putting those two things in the same conversation, because nothing but applause for dropping the hammer on Donald Sterling. He was a bad owner on and off the court. A lot of people had no problem with him hitting the road. He was certainly out of line, and he was bounced. Steve Ballmer doesn't need to be bounced from the NBA. However, there's a good amount of evidence and information to establish that Steve Ballmer, poster child, was out of line. And so we're going to drop the hammer on, okay, the problematic owner, but we're going to give a pass to the innovative owner. Okay, now you can go ahead and say, well, the league's going to make money and the money's going to be good. You can use all those narratives. And by the way, okay, I like the narrative. Remember when Draymond kept getting suspended against the Cavs in 2016 to nudge that series to 7 full games? And Steph Curry kept getting questionable calls to nudge that series to 7 games. And Adam Silver came out for the 2016 NBA draft and straight away noted that the 2016 finals was the highest rated finals in history. That's all great and well. Okay, but there was some help that series got in order to get to a pivotal game 7, and I have no idea what Steve Kerr was doing in the fourth quarter, subbing Festus Ezeli in and out of the game. I don't. Right? But it was the highest rated finals and the revenue goes up. Fine. Nothing to see here with Steve Ballmer. He himself is not a part of this. So we're just going to move forward with business as usual. He's going to keep making money. The league's going to keep making money. Fine. But what's not on the up and up, what's not on the level is when this happens again, because it's going to. Right? Steve Ballmer knows these things. What do you get? You get what you negotiate. Okay? You get what you negotiate, you get what you tolerate. That's what you're going to get. So Steve Ballmer might be at the head of the table, the billionaire table of NBA owners that's just gotten a lot richer with the Lakers sale and things that are going on that we're going to move forward to in a second. But those other owners who are looking to make just as much money as Steve Ballmer. If I can get the tax breaks, get the subsidies, build a brand new stadium that's supported by the taxpayer, but people go for it because they love the sport, and I can cash in with 4, 5, 10x on all of this. People giving me 10 times my investment when they're the ones paying for the product in the first place. If I can get away with this, just like he's getting away with it, then it's open season. These guys, it's open season, okay, rather than the kibosh being put on these things, i.e. David Stern, and don't test me again. Right? Adam Silver is not David Stern. He has a right to lead how he is going to lead. And he's decided in this instance, and I, think this is a precedent, to take a step back, to take things on a case-by-case example, and not establish for good and all what the line in the sand is. The NBA was plenty profitable under David Stern. He built the league. Adam Sandler. I'm not going to do that again. Adam Silver has taken the baton and he's pushed it forward. But David Stern came through with things that were controversial and not I don't know who had a problem with him clobbering the Minnesota Timberwolves for the Joe Smith circumstance where they usurped the salary cap. Again, the Timberwolves of Minnesota, small market, mid-tier market, are not the Los Angeles Clippers. Major market, major city. Major owner. Right? And Adam Silver has. Now, there's a method to the madness. There's a logic behind it. I'm just saying, folks, right? We don't want to upset this apple cart. We're not going to upset this apple cart. And the logic and the reasoning and we're maybe, but we don't know. Again, when David Stern established something, he put you on blast for everybody to see. So everybody's in the know. Okay, you want to say Minnesota is not City of Angels. I get all that. But we don't know if this is being handled behind the scenes or not. And to conclude on this, what I am establishing, Steve Ballmer, very bright and capable. Pablo Torre, very bright and capable. The NBA is not going to handle this on the surface. All right. But by not doing something that everybody can see and everybody can react to one way or the other, when the next owner does the same thing that Steve Ballmer does and gets caught, you lose your leverage to clobber that person. And I don't see now any prohibition between these fiercely competitive billionaires for doing the exact same thing. They say, you're not cheating, you're not trying. And the next outstanding article by Pablo Torre finds out, when he finds this happen again, and we go through this again, the NBA has lost all leverage to penalize that person because you didn't penalize Steve Ballmer. And you can go up and down. Oh, it's a different circumstance, and you've lost the ability to do that. This may be taking place behind the scenes. Adam Silver kind of shoring this up, but okay, that is the loophole that's been created in this. The other owners, right? Chris Paul was supposed to be going to the Lakers. Mark Cuban complained. He went to the Clippers. He had an argument. We own the Pelicans. Why are we, all 29 other owners, going to make this trade, which makes our life more difficult? No, he's not going to the Lakers to give them a stronger hand. He can go to the Clippers. We can handle the Clippers as constituted. He goes to the Lakers. He becomes a kingmaker. No. He had an argument. He had some influence behind him. And he affected change. Lakers fans didn't like that change, but the league benefited. Now, Chris Paul had his opportunities with the Clippers, was never able to break through. It is what it is. Okay, in this instance, the other owners are kind of quiet. Granted, you don't have a Mark Cuban to speak up, but which now we add, right? The owners are quiet on this. So do we really even have a salary cap? Or we're gonna give Ballmer the pass and all you other owners, right? We have a salary cap, but then we don't have a salary cap. All right. Ballmer, free and clear as far as the NBA is concerned. All right. The salary cap and the second apron, which is hurting players and Only players, it appears. Um, we're gonna say to be continued on the salary cap. To be continued. All right, let's keep it moving and grooving, folks. Mr. Ballmer is relentless. SandCity Sports by for the fans. How we doing? How's everybody out there in television land doing? This is good. All right, we're gonna do sharing, but sharing is caring. I got to get myself lined up. Okay. How y'all doing? Y'all good? I see my snack of Rudy's. I think I'm good. I think I'm not. I think I'm gonna be good in terms of my snack of Rudy's. We're gonna keep pushing. I think I'm gonna get the snack of Rudy's going on a little bit later. You know, I got, as I told you, I got the Chipotle on deck. Gonna heat that up. I got my Great House, my Chinese. Gonna heat that up and get it and get up into that. Good leftovers. Got some salt. I don't have chips. I don't got no potato chips to go with it. I usually like to have some potato chips to go with it. Don't have those, but I got some saltine crackers to go with it. You know, I like to see nothing go to waste. Get a good plate. And then tomorrow I'm gonna have to do the grocery shopping to get mine to get back on track. How you guys out there doing? Y'all good? We got Jeanie. Jeanie's in the building. We'll discuss the Lakers, but y'all good? Just check the chat. Chat is good. See if we got any commentary. I'm asking what you think about Harden. I have him as second and third ballot. Y'all let me know. Okay. All right, and we're gonna move on to discuss the Los Angeles Lakers. Just touching up a couple things. But I'm right here with you. And so Los Angeles Lakers bought and sold Walters, right? Of Dodger fame. And then next thing you know, let's hustle up here. Yes, indeedy. Get everything in order. Mark Walters bought the Lakers, and then the next thing you know, hey, time to sell, man. Time to sell for top dollar. Okay. Well, not gonna dive into that angle right now. Want to look at situation with the Bus family, own the Lakers for close to half a century, right? And where that puts the forward facing leadership within the Lakers. Okay. Iger, you know, his team, ESPN folks that are coming in, they've done their calculations. $12 billion sale. So the money keeps going up, but they're not just giving away $12 billion without the implicit understanding that that's going to multiply 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 x. Okay, so this is an investment in the future and continued growth of the NBA and sports in general. The leaders, Iger, they're not going right. We're used to Jeanie. Okay, shout out to the late Dr. Jerry Buss. Okay, Showtime, right? Making it the go-to for folks out there on the left coast in Hollywood. So, Jeanie, 10 toes down on the Lakers. Her father's daughter, all about the Lakers, all about, right? She's just like her dad. Okay. She understands certainly the entertainment angle. She understands the Lakers' place in the culture. And she is rough and tumble when it comes to the inner workings of team sports. Okay. She is going to play the fame game to the bottom of the deck. Okay. And then she'll take the gloves off. All right. And go toe to toe with anyone that wants to play the power game in terms of whose voice rings the loudest within that organization. And can I say she's done outstanding work? The bubble championship is a real championship. Had the Clippers won the championship and ended their drought, it would have been a real championship. Had the Nuggets won the championship in the bubble, right, ending a drought, whoever. So because that championship went to the Lakers, which they earned, that's right up there with any other championship as far as I'm concerned. Yes, they didn't have to travel. The world had shut down. The games were played. The opportunity was present. The Lakers capitalized. Okay? Jeanie capitalized. Speaking of what winning means in somebody's overall legacy. Fast forward, private equity, corporations, whatever you want to say, they want into professional sports. They have the billions and billions of dollars. The leagues are not going to turn them away. All right. The question at hand is, will Jeanie continue to lead the Los Angeles Lakers as she has done successfully for the better part of 2 decades? All right. Team's been sold. There was an agreement in place before the first sale to Walters that seems to have held up, folks. Where, yes, Jeanie said, I will sell, or we, whatever the group is that she leads, will sell the Lakers to Mr. Walters for X. I think it was like 810, right? So everybody's cashing out. He wants to make this deal. He's happy. All of the investors surrounding the Bus family are happy. But the deal does not go through unless it is understood, established, and codified in law, which didn't take place with Mark Cuban, which now he's trying to wrestle back his way into the Dallas Mavericks, and didn't take place in Boston with Wick Grossbeck selling high, said he wanted to bring multiple championships to Boston, won the first championship. Wick sold at the top of the market and has not been seen again. Chisholm comes in, starts taking apart the dynasty, and the Celtics are where they are right now. Period. End of story. If Wick still owns the Celtics, Drew Holiday is still on the Celtics, we're not having this preposterous conversation about JT versus JB. This team is competing for championships if Wick is still here. He's not. New person comes in, analytics, whatever. I can compute a championship based on AI and algorithms and data centers, and the Celtics are a dumpster fire. Right? Because they don't have the leader in the big chair to say no to all this. We have a good thing going. By the way, this was taking place in San Antonio. I'll say that again. We have a good thing going. This was taking place in New York. I'll say that again. Right? And when we're going, this gives us the best chance to win a championship. We could make a little bit in the short term, but the value of a championship in perpetuity dwarfs that. So that's what we're going for. We're going to continue to get the buy-in for the fans. We're not going to leave the fans who are paying for all this, by the way, out in the cold. okay, and take apart a championship level team, i.e., in Boston, most certainly in Dallas, in terms of what's been seen there. We're not going to do that for the short payout. We're not doing it. So Jeannie's not going to do that. But whoever else comes in here with their number crunching, doesn't appreciate Luka Doncic and what he means in the game, and now we're just gonna. We know best. We're billionaires. We didn't get to become billionaires by not knowing best. Never mind, how many great fortunes are burned through in just a couple generations. That's interesting to look at. Not the Rockefellers, because Mr. Rockefeller will not allow his forebearers to burn through the fortune that he built. Will not allow it. Ever have a chance to go ahead and look up the Rockefeller Trust? Okay, no, this ain't your money. This is still my money. And you're going to get a certain amount within certain conditions. You're going to have a very privileged life, but you ain't touching the fortune. No, you are not. No, sirree. I don't care who you are. And if your last name happens to be Rockefeller, you ain't touching the hard work. So the Rockefeller Trust is fascinating. Other Carnegie, Mellon, so on and forth, not the same situation. Speaking of which, interestingly, speaking of Hollywood, and Anderson Cooper does a great job on CNN. He's a Vanderbilt. He come from that Vanderbilt money, but ain't much of that Vanderbilt money left. So Anderson got to do what the rest of us got to do. Anderson got to get out there and work a job. Okay. He ain't got billions and chips to just move around here. No. That money gone. Okay, back to Jeanie. Jeanie's good at what she does, and she wants to stay in the game. And she stayed in the game, folks. That's the first part of this we need to lean into. The Celtics have collapsed, as far as I'm concerned. Any Celtics fans out there that feel different, come on in. Celtics collapsed. Okay? The Mavericks most certainly have collapsed. Right? Rebuilding around Cooper. The Lakers, they've been out of the play-in last 2 years. Could have made some real noise. You understand? Had LeBron, I know if it's and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, but the Lakers could have made some real noise. So if I'm the Lakers, I'm why do I want to go ahead and mess up a good thing? Jeanie can run it. She'd been running it. The train is on the tracks moving forward. Again, this is not about what might be best for the franchise. This is now about the money people making money decisions, not necessarily basketball decisions, because they can. I think you can sense that I feel the Lakers are better with Jeanie Buss. Today's reporting, you're hearing that she's not going to be able to be governor because, the family, Jeanie wants to stay. The rest of the family, who is not involved in the day-to-day operation of Los Angeles Lakers, they want to take the money and run. Understandable, because they don't live the day-to-day, which, that brings up, the further point about wealth, right? And for working class folk like myself, you get into this understanding that, the wealth is going to make A, B, C, and X, Y, Z different. The wealth is going to bring me into this idealized existence. And then you talk to wealthy people, folks. No, right? Wealth that's not attached to purpose of some sort might be, yeah, and that's the hard thing to kind of, because it's not worse than poverty. Anybody that's ever been in impoverished situation can tell you that. So that's a bridge too far to say that somebody with all of this wealth but no purpose, no direction, you start getting into, right, the isms. Remember, I never forget, I heard a priest give a talk, and he said something that always stuck with me. He said, listen, in the developing world, you have the three R's: the rags on your back, rice in your bowl, and a roof over your head. That's what you're focused on in the developing world. These are individuals that are in that desperate struggle uh, to remove themselves from poverty. Never going to say that that struggle is in any way, shape, or form comparable to the struggle of those in places of affluence. Priest said, in the developing world, three R's: rags on your back, rice in your bowl, roof over your head. This is what you focus on. Okay. Once the desperate struggle for food and shelter has been conquered, and you come into some semblance of affluence, in the developed world, you have A, B, and C. Right? Developing world, three R's. Developed world, A, B, and C. You have anxiety, you have boredom, you have complexes. Anxiety, boredom, complexes. Those are the challenges in the developed world. I always remembered that. And I think it holds true. So back to Jeanie Buss. Jeanie Buss is not dealing with, now everybody has issues, but she's certainly not bored. I know that much. You run the Lakers, you don't have a boring day. Every day you're in the mix. Okay? Relative to anxiety, all right, there's things that, but I think that that's mitigated. I think that's reduced because of the challenges and the fact that she is trying to get this right. You run a successful organization, corporation. Yes, it's about winning championships at the end of the day, but it's also about hiring the right people, putting those people in positions to be successful, and managing over time the success of those individuals, that rising tide to lift all boats, so that this person can start at one level and reach other levels within the company, so they get to upper management possibly, and are still effective, are still contributing. They live, their standard of living has gone through the roof, okay, but they're not leaning into that and forgetting what got them there, right? And then now they are striving to keep this company growing to create the opportunity for the next intern or whoever that comes in, right? That's what goes into running a successful company, a corporation. You're creating overall value. Shout out to Chick-fil-A, closed on Sundays, highest minimum wage amongst the corporations, paying a living wage to people, right? Yes, I want to show up. I want to do good work on a day-to-day basis because I appreciate what this organization is doing for me. And therefore, you're going to get that full labor power that I have to offer. That's what goes in. Right? A good CEO can effectuate this. A bad CEO can destroy this. But the bottom line, this is you're working this. The highs and lows of the economy, those high seas from bull to bear markets. Right? So Jeannie's in the thick of things, and she's doing a good job in the thick of things, and she wants to stay in the thick of things. And I want Jeanie to stay, and I think the league wants Jeanie to stay. All right, we got any folks that feel different? Come on through. The challenge, though, is the brothers who aren't right. They have that other challenge. They have that other right. You guys seen Gattaca out there? Gattaca's another good, great movie that speaks to this. See if we can get Gattaca up there, up here in the chat, right? Because on the surface of it, it is a little bit off, wouldn't you say, folks? That the brothers want out, right? It's not as though the brothers are not printing money, right? The Buss family is making plenty of money through the Lakers. They're saying we want to cash out. We're not content with, these returns over the long haul. They're saying we want the bag. And what I'm saying is, do you really? I haven't heard of any story of the Buss family falling on hard times. I don't want to hear that story. Okay, but they're saying we want to cash out, we want the bag, and it seems to me you want the intention of that. Now, I fine. You want more money versus having to your returns, but who doesn't like Bobby Bonilla Day? You don't like Bobby Bonilla Day, my people? Okay, before we go over to Bobby Bonilla Day, right? I'm trying because this seems personal to me. We want to sell our stake in the Lakers, not so much because cashing out is going to, in and of itself, propel our portfolio into another stratosphere and is going to put us on a different level. Because again, you're already getting the money from the team over time. It seems that the Buss family wants to cash out to stick it to Jeanie. Okay, and Jeannie's not having that, and lawyers are involved, and so we'll come back. But when I think about that type of mindset and mentality, you already have plenty of money. You're going to continue to be getting your money, but you want to make this deal because yourself and Jeanie had issues before. I don't doubt that, and now we see an opportunity to kind of make things difficult to you because we feel you've made things difficult for us, and so we're going to take it. Right? So, again, we talked about the 3 R's. We talked about the ABCs. Check out Gattaca if you haven't seen it. One of these movies, right? Shout out to Blockbuster Video. Whatever happened to Blockbuster? That used to be the we don't got Blockbuster anymore. So, where do we find these solid indie films? Where do we find them? We can't find, we got to find them somewhere, folks. Not on Blockbuster. Where they at? Where they at? All right, folks. But one of the things we learned from Gattaca, yes, there is no gene for the human spirit. No gene for the human spirit. That's right. No gene for the human spirit. Solid movie here. Just thinking back, I had a back and forth, when I was in college. And I could have been a little bit more graceful. I need a little bit more grace in those moments. When I got to watch myself. When I start to get angry, I gotta take a huge step back. That's certainly a vice of mine. I gotta take a huge step back and lean into the grace. I gotta do that. But this movie, it follows. I'm not gonna give the whole, one person that's privileged and another person that's not privileged. Okay, and one of the lines that I always resonate with me is they said, one of the characters, they suffered under a different burden, the burden of perfection, the burden of high expectations, where nothing but first place, straight A's was acceptable. They were not allowed to be human and make mistakes, which, are intertwined. They weren't allowed. And so any mistake, any failure was cataclysmic. So this person that was less privileged, their challenge was they didn't have access to resources. This person that was privileged, their challenge was they didn't have access to grace and empathy and the ability to make the mistakes that they needed to make in order to continue to grow. Right? They suffered under a different burden, the burden of perfection. Shout out to Gattaca. All right. Do I feel Jeanie Buss is under immense pressure and stress and it's overwhelming? No, I don't. Jeanie knows what it is to run the Lakers. She does a good job running the Lakers. But what I am saying is that how this is playing out, and there's a ways to go. This is going to be a court battle. I wonder what her siblings are doing that they want to push to cash out versus just to continuing to collect money over time. I don't see what the difference is beyond a sibling rivalry. And not only is I'm not seeing a difference, I'm wondering why the other siblings would pursue this in the first place. Yeah, I don't rock with Jeanie. We're siblings, but we don't rock together. Okay, but you're all making money together. You're still getting your share of the proceeds, just like she's still getting her share. It's just that she wants to be involved in the day-to-day, and you want to do whatever it is you're doing. So I say to myself, if the other siblings were actually living lives of purpose, I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm not sure why they want this fight with Jeanie at this particular moment when their money is already guaranteed. They're not losing any money by keeping their stake in the Lakers and that percentage cashing out over time. That's how I'm reading this. Okay? Lakers aren't losing any bread. Excuse me, the Lakers family isn't losing any bread. So why kick Jeanie to the curb? Is my question in all this. And all right, maybe, you got the opportunity and so you're going to take it and it's on, the brethren, they feel like, hey, I can do it, so I'm going to do it. That's just what it comes down to. I can do it, so I'm going to do it. For me, I say if that's the way it is, fine. But I'm not sure I would want this side battle over and apart from however it is you're spending your day-to-day life. I don't know if this side battle with Jeanie, which it's going to be a knockdown, drag out confrontation, is worth it. You know, if you have other things going on that are interesting you and right? Why do the brothers want this? Do they need the money? Are they not, you right? Managing the returns that they're getting, and so there's a liquidity issue? Is that possible? So Lakers sold. Bus siblings are not in agreement in terms of what to do with their share. As Jeanie did navigate the first sale of the team, I'm going to side with Jeanie in terms of her navigating the second sale of the team. If the brothers want to cash out now, I imagine they wanted to cash out when Walters bought the team the first time for huge profits. And that didn't take place. So the next time that we're at this same junction, having the same toe down, I think I'm of the opinion that Jeanie bus will prevail. Right? Okay, so Jeanie versus the siblings. I'm going with Jeanie. All right, folks, let's keep moving and grooving. How y'all doing out there, television land? How y'all doing? Y'all good? Out in television land, Sand City, we in the building. We're here. Passion Project, Monday night. I know what it is. And so jump in, join out. It's up to you. We'll keep on moving and grooving. We're gonna shift gears. Bit more serious of a topic, but one that has to be noted. Something that kind of impacted me once I became aware of the story. And so recently, Pritchard Cologne passed away. This individual was a prize fighter who suffered life-altering damage in a fight that left him, for all intents and purposes, in a vegetative state. He spent the better part of a decade, right? So we're going back to 2016. So he's essentially 24 when he suffers the life-altering brain injuries, and he spent the last 10 years in a essentially bedridden. and he recently passed away. So, RIP Pritchard Cologne. His story is tragic in a number of instances. To begin with, for me, he kept getting hit in the back of the head, which was the injury. Getting punched in the back of the head, which is called rabbit punching, and it's illegal for the very reason of what he suffered. During the fight, he kept telling the referee that he's getting hit in the back of the head, which is exceedingly dangerous. The referee brushed him off. Folks, as somebody who is a referee, right? As you go on, right? People become refs for all these different reasons, and it's nice. You want to get back to the game. You want to be around the game. It's good. The money, right? Need to make the money. Make the money doing something I love. It's a privilege. It's a high blessing, right? The quality refs. These could be younger refs. These could be referees that have been doing it for years. The quality refs, the good refs, the great refs. Your first obligation is the health and safety of those involved. That is what you are ultimately working to secure, the health and safety of all those involved. And your watch never ends on these vital matters. The score is important, winning is important. I get that. All right. And that's where when you're a ref and you take it seriously and you recognize the value of it, how important it is to the individuals who participate, how important it is to their families, how working people take time out of their busy schedules. They take money out of their modest resources to put into this. Right? It means a tremendous amount. Generally speaking, you see people putting their best foot forward. Yes, they're going to yell at you. Yes, they're going to, because it means something. This idea that you can be here and work yourself to get to there. This idea of a meritocracy. This idea of community. This idea of, right, opportunity. A balanced playing field. Yes, you might have more money than me. You might have more speed than me, more athleticism, but we have this opportunity to compete to see who the better individual and team are this day. That's what sports gives us. And it means a lot to people. And that has to be always remembered, respected, and valued. What am I talking about when we get to this Pritchard Cologne story? The bottom line for a referee is the health and safety of those individuals who are participating. And in his story, it was avoidable. He did not have to suffer these life altering injuries that eventually led to his death at the age of 34. He did not. He kept telling the referee what was happening, and the referee ignored him. This is criminal negligence. So it's tragic. It's a tragedy. But what can we learn from the tragedy? What good can come from the tragedy? I'll share another story. And this is for all, I'm talking, whoever's out there in television land, I'm talking to you. Talking to you. Because we love sports. This platform is SandCity Sports. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's not that serious to usurp your health, our health. It's not more important, clearly. Another story. So I refereed lacrosse for a couple years. I ended up giving it up. Great game lacrosse. But I remember in refereeing lacrosse, one of the that we went over is the difference between a collision sport, a contact or combat sport, like football or boxing and MMA. Football is a collision sport. Collisions are integral, essential to the game. Boxing, combat sport. We're talking about violence, being hit and hitting, right? Whereas in lacrosse, a point of emphasis when I was learning the sport is, listen, lacrosse is not a collision sport. It's not a contact sport. It's a freedom of movement sport with contact. There is hitting in lacrosse. There are the big hits, yada, yada, yada. But within the game and within all sports, they want to go away from the big hits. Yes, they're there, but that being central to the game. And this is a skill sport. This is a freedom of movement sport with contact. Not a contact sport that has some freedom of movement. It's a freedom of movement sport with contact. What am I getting at, folks? Right? And again, it's to preserve the health and safety, health and well-being of these athletes over the long term. Okay. So it's a story, right? Kids are practicing lacrosse. They're out in practice, yada, yada, yada. Okay? Mom's sitting there watching the practice. Okay? Kids are practicing, yada, yada, yada. They have their helmets on. Kid happens to get hit in the back of the head with a lacrosse ball. However that happened. He's running, yada, yada. Kid happens to so he's running, boom, hit in the back of the head with the lacrosse ball. Goes down, he's woozing. Coach is there. Parent comes on the court. Coach says, "You all right?" Yeah, I'm all right. I'm gonna be okay, coach. Mom says, "I want to get him checked out." No, he's all right. Coach says he's all right. Again, the mom's a medical doctor. I'm going to get him checked out. No. I am going to get him checked out. Okay, mom wouldn't have it. Her voice prevailed. They went and got the kid checked out. Again, this is youth. Did the MRIs, CAT scans. Turned out he had fracture. Hairline, whatever the case may be, in the back of his skull. Right? They went ahead and did a study. They found that the lacrosse balls, right, they were sitting there, cold garage, over the winter, yada, 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 and it hardened the lacrosse ball to the point where that old lacrosse ball now has the same composition as a baseball. Okay, I don't know if anybody out there plays lacrosse. The ball, it's hard, but it's bouncy. It's like a bouncy ball. Okay, it's distinctly different than a baseball. Went ahead, did the studies, found that information, changed the composition of the lacrosse ball. All right, and then the overall recognition, lacrosse, it's not a contact sport. It's not a collision sport. It's a freedom of movement sport. It's a skill game with contact. That is how we will understand it. in order to preserve the health and safety of the most valuable asset, the players themselves. Okay, Pichardo Cologne, parents, people out there, the health and safety of those involved is what is the most important thing. Winning that game that day for the pride that you feel means nothing. I said what I said. Means nothing. Particularly at the youth level, that kid is dinged up, that kid is woozy, that kid is wobbly. Get them the heck out of the game. I don't care what it was when you were coming up. Means nothing to me. Somebody told you to rub some dirt on your shoulder, on whatever injury, and get back out there. Look at what happened and what's happening with Roger Craig, great football player. Came out recently suffering from dementia. I think about Calvin Hill, Grant Hill's dad, great running back for the Cowboys. Grant, you're not playing football. But you're not playing football. I'm going to be a wide receiver. You're not playing football. You're not playing football. He's done fine for himself in the NBA through an injury, not getting hit all of his money, still with an evaluation upwards of $250 million. He's done fine for himself. Now currently leading Team USA. If you're unsure and it doesn't look right, it's probably not. He told the official, the official wanted to be a fan, wanted to be a spectator, wanted to get involved in the brouhaha. And vacated his role in that bout. The official vacated their role in the bout as an arbiter, as a protector, and wanted to be a promoter. Wanted to be a promoter, essentially. The referee turned into a promoter, and a man suffered life-altering injuries that cut his life short. That's on the referee. Right? Certainly never live this down. But for the other stakeholders, I'm talking about the parents out there, I'm talking about the coaches, I'm talking about the trainers. If it doesn't look right, it's probably not right. All right? The glory of that particular day. I remember Roy Williams one time going out, and there was a fight that they just kept extending, and Roy Williams left and told them to stop the fight, and they wouldn't stop the fight, and the man had life-altering injuries. Specifically, remember that Roy Williams left. He got to his fight. He saw what was going on. He understood the gravity, the magnitude of it. Went out there and demanded they stop the fight. Now, of course, that should be the referee, but hey, referee is a promoter. This is a blood sport. We don't care. Let's go all the way back to the Colosseum in Rome, as if we've learned nothing. Right, R.I.P. Pritchard Cologne. Right, young man, aspiring champion. Right, tomorrow not promised. And sports, it's a means to an end. It's a means to an end. It's not an end in and of itself. It's not more important than your sense of self-worth. It's not more important than your overall goals and dreams, and it's certainly not more important than your health and your safety. It's not. Discretion is the better part of valor. Rest in peace, Pritchard Cologne. All right, folks, a couple more things. Going to get to slice of life. Okay, just a story, local story. On the heels of what we just discussed. Right. 47-year-old pastor wants to get out there and play college ball. Talking about the eligibility guidelines in college sports, folks. As I get into, I need to get my snackaloo at this particular point in time. We talk about the eligibility guidelines. So do I think a 47-year-old needs to be out there running around with a 17-year-old in college sports? No. No, I don't feel that way. At the same time, this is 47 years old. Let's do some semi-pro, right? Let's do the semi-pro. We don't need to be out there with teenagers. All right, that said, folks, I like how he has the Guardian cap on. Dare I say, I love how he has the Guardian cap on. "47-year-old is going to be out there reliving the glory days." Okay? If that's going to be the case, do it safely. You're 47 years old. You got people who depend on you. Be mindful. Don't get yourself hurt. Right? So, does he belong in college sports? No. But you want to turn back the clock, stroll down memory lane, get out there and win one for the Gipper, whatever the case may be, doggone it, put on a Guardian cap. Put on that Guardian cap and do it safely for yourself and for others. So I salute the gumption. I salute the wherewithal to go out there and do it. But this man, as far as I can see, is doing it the right way, doing it safely. So that it's a good overall experience for himself and for others. 47 years old. He's out there getting it. All right. We got a couple more things that we're going to rock and go ahead and get to. But I think we're going to head over to Slice of Life now. We're going to head over to Slice of Life now. Facebook is good. Facebook, we appreciate you. Sand City, as we get over to Slice of Life, I'm going to keep it moving on the Facebook. But much love and appreciation for all those that tuned in. And we're going to see you again next time. Peace. Thank you. Yes, I know one platform is short. But we're going to keep the other platforms going as we wind down with our Slice of Life. As I get my snackaloo. Yeah. All right. All right. Where are we going on Slice of Life? All right. Good place to start. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this. As we wind on down, SandCity Sports, by for the fans. Passion project in the building all day, every day. And we've been discussing this. And so let's have man himself. Well, Mr. Pablo Torre. I mean, you can see Pablo, but hold on now. Let's get the scoop.
Line of the ESPN story that's made waves today, and then I'm going to get to what's interesting about it. The headline, sources, NBA has no evidence. Ballmer funneled money to Leonard via sponsors. And that's a big deal, right? The NBA has been investigating this with their outside counsel, Wachtell Lipton, for 11 months. We've done 14 parts of our own series in which we have gotten human sources as well as documentation, like a whistleblower complaint filed in 2023. At all of these levels, right? Aspiration, Daktronics, the Clippers. The NBA, apparently, according to ESPN, is focusing instead on failure to supervise, meaning their employees, officials at the Clippers beneath Steve Ballmer, who perhaps committed salary cap circumvention, but really what they're guilty of is failure to supervise them, even though the Clippers got dinged, I would imagine. This is part of the calculation. Punished, dinged in 2015 for cap circumvention, investigated 2019. Again, in 2021, all this stuff begins with aspiration. And Daktronics, incidentally. So anyhow, I bring that up because I want to introduce another line from this article that people I don't think are making enough of a deal about. And it's this, quote, in recent days, both sides have been negotiating a resolution to the investigation, end quote. And I say this just because this is typically not how investigations work, whether in the criminal justice system or in journalism, right? The subject of the investigation does not get to negotiate with the group that is doing the investigating what the outcome is and what really happened here. But in this case, Steve Ballmer, the richest owner in American sports, has been negotiating a resolution to the investigation behind the scenes, according now to ESPN. And the NBA now has their own statement. They say, quote, ESPN's article regarding the LA Clippers investigation, for which the NBA declined to cooperate, contains numerous and significant inaccuracies. The results in this matter will be made clear once the investigation is concluded, end quote. Also worth pointing out is that the Clippers provided a statement in which they said it's very normal to make introductions between players and team partners. This is ordinary practice. The MBPA is in support of this. All of that is very normal, nothing to see here. But what we're seeing actually is that a backstage negotiation is spilling out into the public, and maybe the public should know a bit more. So I'm going to read the headline of the ESPN story that's made waves today, and then I'm going to get to what's interesting about it. The headline, sources, NBA has no evidence. Ballmer funneled money to Leonard via sponsors. And that's a big deal, right? The NBA has been investigating this with their outside counsel, Wachtell Lipton, for 11 months. We've done 14 parts of our own series in which we have gotten human sources as well as documentation, like a whistleblower complaint filed in 2023. At all of these levels, right? Aspiration, Daktronics, the Clippers, the NBA, apparently, according to ESPN, is focusing instead on failure to supervise, meaning their employees, officials at the Clippers beneath Steve Ballmer, who perhaps committed salary cap circumvention, but really what they're guilty of is failure to supervise them, even though the Clippers got dinged, I would imagine. This is part of the calculation. Punished, dinged in 2015 for cap circumvention, investigated 2019. Again, in 2021, all this stuff begins with aspiration and Daktronics, incidentally. So anyhow, I bring that up because I want to introduce another line from this article that people I don't think are making enough of a deal about. And it's this, quote, "In recent days, both sides have been negotiating a resolution to the investigation," end quote. And I say this just because this is typically not how investigations work.
Got it, Pablo? The individual himself noting how the league arrived at its current place. As Tom Jones said, it's not unusual. Meaning, in this case, it is unusual. Shout out to Tom Jones. All right, continue with Slice of Life. I love this. Mavs brass. Out. Check on Cooper. Right? So you start to build that culture, brick by brick from the ground floor. Since the Mavericks weren't happy with going to the NBA championship in 2024 and decided to blow it all up. All right.
What's your favorite Doc Rivers memory?
I can say on camera, probably the first day we all met when he got Paul and I all together and showed us the vision. And then within 8 months, that vision came true. So shout out to Doc, special night.
We played the Lakers in the regular season, and he asked us if we believed that we could be back here for the finals, because we knew the Lakers were pretty much handedly going to be there from out the West. And he says, if you guys believe that, everybody give me $100. We're going to put it in the ceiling in the locker room, and we'll be back in a couple of months to get it. And we did that.
And you did.
Yes, we did.
Doc used to always yell at me all the time. And I just think, I don't think this man liked me at all. And then he pulled me in there and said, you know why I yell at you? I said, no, I don't know, Coach. I think you don't like me. Like, no, we do like you, but we think you can help us win a championship. And you're going to help us win a championship. Believe it at first, it came true. Doc always got the good stories, the good motivational speech, the way to get to his players.
I would say a funny memory, just how great of a mentor he was for me in my career, in my life. So definitely would miss him for the world. Excited to be here representing.
What's your favorite Doc Rivers memory?
Wow, Rondo. It's a beautiful thing that the Celtics put the past, because put the past behind them, and it came out. That the big stars had their differences. KG, Pearson, Ray, Rondo, emerging star, certainly came into the mix. But it's a beautiful thing, because 08 was special. And it's hard to, maintain those levels. Right? Life happens and we go our separate ways. But love that everybody came back, put the acrimony aside, and was for the cause. quick shout out here in terms of the training that we got to do. This is the training that's taking place in the off season.
Beat him. Sit up. Good. Here's one. Let's get at least 3 or 5 on these. Need this one. Don't miss 2 in a row. Keep him on his heels. Pop out. 2. They hit. It's a screen. Kick back. Knock down. You're going to go downhill. Any transition move you want to attack the hoop, okay? Once you get all the way to the rim, you're just shooting out to the corner. We're going to do the DHL. So give me a dribble handoff. You can mix it up right into it, add a bounce up to you. Third shot's going to be a transition 3, okay? Let's go into your pull-up. And then the fourth one's going to be like a boomerang. So I'm going to have you set a screen. Okay. Off of that, we're going back to the big. He's going to pass it right back to you. Go into your shot. All right? First one's live? First one's live, yep. Just trim up. Good bump. 1. Two. Hell yeah. Quick. Good pace. 1.
It's Tyler Krolecker.
Good.
New York Knicks
Need this one time.
championship fame.
Hustle, baby. Pop, pop. Got it. 2. Back. Rack 'em.
And the trainer there, Brian Rudolph of New Bedford fame, just got a head coaching job, right? So we it's a beautiful thing to see that, right? Tyler, you know who he is. We've known who he is in the Commonwealth for many years, coming up on the youth circuit, the non-sneaker circuit, loyal to the soil, grinding. So we've known about Tyler for a number of years. You guys might have become familiar once he broke through to Marquette. And yeah, that's his history. Forward march. All right.
Things that I've learned from playing Division II basketball. Number 1, talent will only get you so far. Sure, you might have been the best player on your high school team, but so is everybody else in college. You need to raise your level of work ethic, consistency, coachability, everything to become a good player in college. Number 2, your role can and probably will change. Coming out of high school, again, I was always the best player, but I quickly realized when I got to college that was not going to be the case anymore. I started out my freshman year with a very small role, and over the years, as I built trust with my coach and my teammates, I got a little bit more freedom, and then that's when I started to become one of the better players on the team and in the league. Number 3, basketball will teach you how to deal with failure. Okay, I had plenty of bad games, lost plenty of times, got yanked many times for making mistakes. Okay, but over the years and over the course of all the failures, you learn to adapt and you learn from it. Number 4, basketball is not your identity. Yes, it can be a huge part of your life. It pretty much was my life for 18 years. And I'm still learning who I am outside of basketball even right now. But I learned this the hard way. I would let one bad game affect my mood for an entire week. Okay, trust me, you do not want to do that. Try and remember that it is just a game. Number 5, it really does go by fast. Okay, I know everybody says that. I didn't listen to anybody that told me that when I was a freshman. But trust me, enjoy the bus rides, enjoy the locker room talks, the practices, the running, the tough losses, the wins. Enjoy it all, because you do not get these 4 years back. These are 5 things that I've learned from.
There you go. Don't get it back. A couple more. Talking about the process.
The NBA, they try to act like they're the fathers. I saw dads crying because of that situation.
How do each one of you guys feel about the way they want to divide you guys from your son when you get to that success?
Wow. I've seen it when it started with the draft. Mom got interviewed and sitting right next to it. Nothing was asked of me. We know what it took for us to get our kids there. And if stuff like that is going to break me, then I don't need to be around. It's messed up, but I know my son, how much he cares and loves me. And he knows what we've been through. As long as that matters, I'm good.
You wait.
I had a hard time when my son first went to the league with them trying to separate the players from the dads or the families. And what I tried to do is I tried to instill what I learned from my situation is sit back and let them mature. And then, everything will work out.
If you look at any of these superstars, who it's been given from D Rose not talking to his parents to Kobe not being able to talk to his parents. So you're going to go through that. That's why I asked you that. There's nothing you can just dodge.
The NBA, they try to act like they're the fathers. I saw dads crying because of that situation.
How do each one of you guys feel about the way they want to divide you guys from your son when you get to that success?
Wow. I've seen it when it started with the draft. Mom got interviewed and sitting right next to it. Nothing was asked of me. We know what it took for us to get our kids there. And if stuff like that is going to break me, then I don't need to be around. It's messed up, but I know my son, how much he cares and loves me. And he knows what we've been through. As long as that matters, I'm good.
You wait.
I had a hard time when my son first went to the league with them trying to separate the players from the dads or the families. And what I tried to do is I tried to instill what I learned from my situation is sit back and let them mature. And then, everything will work out.
If you look at any of these superstars, who it's been given from D Rose not talking to his parents to Kobe not being able to talk to his parents. So you're going to go through that. That's why I asked you that. There's nothing you can just dodge.
The NBA.
Shout out to LeVar Ball and his platform. That's a serious conversation. That's a serious, and again, hear from the fathers and their opinion and perspective, which is many times muted, for whatever reason. So how the success, impacts the family dynamic. That's and to have the different parents there. Shout out to LeVar Ball. Shout out to that conversation. Shout out to his platform. We don't play hate. We congratulate around here. And it's important, right? Because you have the success. The success is great. But then it requires, there's more responsibilities for all parties involved. And how do you live up to those responsibilities? Good stuff. All right, speaking of the process and the journey, slice of life.
I think Jerry said it off the record or on, I can't remember now, but it was like, he's going to hire someone who Shaq and Kobe can't get fired. That's what we need. Like, that's when he can convince that Phil was the guy. They could not undermine this guy. This guy was the coach. They paid him way more money than any other coach in Laker history. He comes in with this Bulls background. He comes in with the philosophies and the mindset, and you have to do it.
To Kobe and Shaq, Phil represented different things. To Kobe, he represented Michael's coach. And so Kobe wanting to be like Mike, and in that time, the triangle offense meant something, right? It's kind of denigrated now, but at the time, it meant something, and it certainly meant something to Kobe. For Shaq always talked about, he basically needed an authoritarian. He needed somebody who was as big in their walk of life as a coach as he was as a player. So Shaq was always saying, like, I need a Chuck Daly type. I need Pat Riley, who he eventually seeks out and plays for in Miami. Shaq needed somebody to basically, like, metaphorically smack him upside the head and tell him when he was doing stuff wrong and to get with the program. Phil Jackson represented that.
I think Jerry said it off.
Yep. Well, speaking of late, great Jerry West, greatest executive in team sports, my view. All right, a couple more. I'm going to stick with the league and the Hall of Fame theme. This is
what's poppin'. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that it's like Stockton. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday life. My body got rid of them toxins. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in.
Today, bro. Look at this man in the shape.
I can pass that it's like Stockton. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday life.
What?
My body got rid of them toxins.
Two legends right there. Oh, The Answer and John Stockton. Okay, and we'll conclude here. We'll stop it here. Last one. Let's go.
Is that I was the first to coach my son, Austin. You know, we did that, Austin, and no one can ever take that away from us, man. I am positive that you thought I was harder on you than everybody else. I do understand that. But what I loved about it, and it taught me a lesson, that we were talking one time, you said it was okay because you knew it was coming from a loving place. And I thought about it, damn, that's the trick. If you can be a coach and coach your players hard, and they know that it comes from a loving place, you can be really successful in this business. So thank you for teaching me that. I really appreciate it. And then the other gift is that I was the first.
One of the four Rivers kids, Austin Rivers. And from those little days to the championship that Dad won in Boston, and Austin was there as a high schooler at that time to celebrate it. Terrific high school player in Orlando, Gatorade Florida Player of the Year, on to being drafted by New Orleans, 10th overall lottery pick, and now playing for Dad. We've never had a son play for his dad in terms of player and head coach. So what a tremendous testament to him, his character, how hard he works. One of the four Rivers kids, Austin Rivers. And
of Chicago
from those
fame.
little days to the championship that Dad won in Boston, and Austin was there as a high schooler at that time to celebrate it. Terrific high school player in Orlando, Gatorade Florida Player of the Year, on to being drafted by New Orleans, 10th overall lottery pick, and now playing for Dad. We've never had a son play for his dad in terms of player and head coach. So what a
Look at that bench. Mike
testament
Watson,
to
Lawrence
him,
Frank.
his character, how hard he works.
Others.
One of the four.
All right. Speaking of those achievements, lofty stuff, folks. Lofty stuff. A lot of hard work. So, happy for the Rivers family and what they were able to achieve. Doc having his moment in Springfield. Okay, folks, time flies when you're having fun. You know what this is. Yes, sir. SandCity. Go. I'm your host, Hip